What would you say your speciality is? Kind of health or kind of mental health?
It's something new. I'm pioneering a field.
Youth as well? Can you talk about
any human, any person?
Okay.
Anything that's got to do with people.
Yes.
My work involves them.
What is psycho-spiritual? What is that kind of approach?
It's a perspective. Like you have a medical model and you have other models to understanding the human condition, psycho-spiritual is a pioneering model that I have created to give understanding to the human condition and to support human quality of being and quality of life.
Okay, well, explain that a bit more. I mean, we know what the kind of, I think we know what the psycho is. What is the spiritual aspect and how do they fit together?
Are we shooting already?
I think we might be, I don't know.
Okay, all right. So, well, let me say it's a privilege for me to be here with you and the viewers of this program to share with you some of the learnings and findings that I have uncovered in the past 20 years. And these learning and findings are about the human experience. So each human being has a quality of being. When you get up in the morning, or even if you're in a coma, you are having a quality of being.
Yes.
And each human being is having a quality of life, an experience of life. So something that every human being experiences is a quality of being and a quality of life. And this quality of being and quality of life hasn't been given much direct attention. What gets a lot of attention is the experiences that people have. So people have experiences of dis-ease, distress, dissatisfaction, and so my background as a therapist, as a counselor, has been working with people who have been having experiences, various kinds of dis-eases in their life and difficulties and dreadful experiences. So I began to look not just at the conditions that people were experiencing, because that's what most people come to a practitioner with, whether they go to a medical doctor, a psychologist, or any other healthcare specialist. They go with a presenting problem, and that problem is usually a condition of some kind.
So it's the kind of healing that you're doing, whether it's
absolutely
bodily or mental,
absolutely.
Doesn't really matter. You're trying to make the best and better.
Absolutely. What my work does, it supports individuals, enhance the quality of their being, and enrich the quality of their life.
Yes.
So my work directly supports the quality of the human experience, looking at largely individuals, enhancing their quality of being and enriching the quality of life. And what I find that when a person focuses on enriching the quality of their being and enhancing the quality of their life, then the diseases, the dissatisfactions and the dreads disappear. So my work is a response to the challenges of the human spirit, to the challenges of the human condition, and it's pioneering work, and I call it a psycho-spiritual perspective of understanding dis-ease, and it's a science in itself because it looks at not only describing but explaining and also predicting and also looking at modifying human experiences. So it's a new genre, and I'm very privileged to be the one to share it with individuals.
Where do you think this disease and dread comes from? Is it just the world we live in, or is it the way we actually deal with it?
Well, let's look at what are the popular diseases that people have, and usually most of these go by unnoticed or uncategorized or undiagnosed. So diseases of the mind or diseases of thought. So people who get up in the morning experiencing boredom, it's a kind of disease of the mind. Or whether a person is thinking negatively or pessimistically, or people is feeling that life is too difficult, or attitudes that are defeating, or a person who feels down upon themselves, self-depreciating, or a person who has thoughts of jealousy or even of envy or negativity against another, judgment, righteousness. So this is diseases of the mind. Then you have diseases that are reflected in speech. So when we speak about ourselves or others in an unloving, unsupportive way, when we use our words to hurt, to harm, and from aggression, then these are diseases of the being as well.
And that's intent as well, your intent.
Yes. Yes. So people find themselves unconscious as they express these diseases mentally, verbally, and even behaviorally. So people have behaviors that are self-defeating or other defeating, as we withhold love from others or from ourselves through addictions, of various kinds, or violence against one another. So they are diseases of the mind, of the word, of behavior, and of feeling as well. So people who feel feelings of aggression, depression, anxiety, these are diseases of the being.
So kind of broken thought processes and almost literally in a rut. You're kind of actually stuck in that cycle and you can't get out.
So this is what's happening. If you look around, sometimes we ourselves go through this. We have these diseases, mental, verbal, emotional, behavioral, even our relationships with whether spouses or friends or employer-employee, every day in this country, there's either the giving of love and support, or there's a withholding of love and support, even violence against self and one another. And so this goes by largely undiagnosed. This is the so-called human condition. So I've been asking for many years, what is the solution, And to understand the solution, one needs to understand the phenomenon. And so the answer in a nutshell, the psycho-spiritual approach presents the solution of unconditional love. That love is a vibration. This is not poetry, it's not philosophy, it's a science. That the vibration of unconditional love is the solution. That one experiencing unconditional love, their thoughts are harmonious, uplifting of self, encouraging to others. Their words are the same, loving of self, others, supportive of self and others. Their behaviors are an openness to the enrichment of their own being and others' being. Their feelings is nothing but compassion, love, mercy. And relationships reflect this bond. So love, and not only these diseases, look at the popular diseases, that what people call diseases of the body. Whether it's cancer, whether it's something, thyroid problems, or obesity. These are also diseases, and these, I believe, all these diseases are actually symptoms. They are symptoms. And so what happens is people are treating symptoms. It's like a shadow. If I had to put my hand out and the sunlight was obstructed by my hand, there would be a shadow cast on a surface. And that shadow is just a symptom. So when people go to others to say, I think negatively, or I speak in an unloving way, or I have behaviors that hurt me and hurt others, or I have depression, or the relationship needs attention, we're taking symptoms for treatment. And the practitioners and individuals who are treating symptoms are essentially treating shadows. Even in our medical model, if you go into a pharmacy, most of those boxes say for symptomatic relief. So currently, the current approaches, absolutely, people are not understanding that they are working at a symptomatic level. They're working with shadows. So is it any wonder why diseases seemingly are resilient to treatment? Because you're working at a symptomatic level.
I would like to get onto how you would define the spiritual aspect. I don't know if you're going to cover that.
Yes, I will, definitely.
It's a show about spirituality, about
absolutely,
what you're doing.
Absolutely, and we're going to give it to them thick and hard.
Okay.
But first we're presenting the condition where human beings, so to get their attention to come in, you see.
Okay, so we're basically working with shadows and the symptoms.
Absolutely, and so it's not any wonder, why we have come to the point where humans are actually fearful of diseases, fearful of challenges. And these diseases are not only within individuals, they are collectively experienced. So as a collective, we experience diseases like crime, unemployment, we experience child abuse, abuse against women, and sort of these things. So as people look at the effects or these symptoms and they try to deal with it, they are missing out completely and wholly on the causes and the absolute accurate treatment of those causes.
Now that's very interesting that you don't look at that as kind of, child abuse is not an act just against the child, or kind of violence is not just an act. It's actually against the whole community.
Absolutely. It's a collective disease. And dealing with it at the level of symptom, at the level of shadow, is illusory. It's like trying to paint over a shadow. You might feel a temporary sense of relief at best, excitement You know, people say, all right, we're applying some treatment, we're hoping it's going to work. Here we are painting on this wall to eliminate the shadow, and people get a sense of false hope as they apply the current treatments. And as they apply it, they then go into despair and despondency. And so we become desperate as individuals and collectives. So now it's not uncommon, if you put on the radio, to hear people say there's a fight against cancer. There's a fight against violence against women. Humanity is actually experiencing its powerlessness, not because it is powerless, but because it is dealing with shadows. Anybody who deals with shadows will experience futility. So diseases, although experienced, are not real. Now, this I call the greatest finding since people recognized that the earth wasn't flat. You see, Tom, there was a time, as you may know, that if you went to the academics, and if you went to the religious elders, and if you spoke to the man on the street and asked them about the earth, is the earth flat? They would say to you, of course, yes. There was a time when people believed the earth was flat because it seemed that way. And not only that, they believed that the sun rose and set, and the earth was stationary, and it was the sun that was moving around. So if you went to any source of so-called intelligence, religious, political, cultural, any kind,
they all gave you the wrong information.
They all believing that they know, convinced of their knowing, led people astray. And there were few people among them that, using their intuition, using their equipment, began to find that the earth is not flat. Despite it appearing so, the earth is not flat. And the sun is actually not moving around the earth is rotating on its axis. So I believe that we currently are globally in a modern flat earth mentality thinking. And so what I'm saying to us is, what is that assumption that contaminates our experience as individuals through the sciences, through medicine, through politics, through religion, with all due respect to all these disciplines and their accomplishments? What is that one assumption that is contaminating our experience in leading us to be inadequate to deal with the challenges facing humanity at the moment? And for me is this idea, I've mentioned it but I'll repeat it, that we can experience something that is not real. The fact that you're experiencing something does not necessarily make it real. Now, if you allow me, I will give you an analogy that I think is brilliant. If we were in a room and we switched off the lights, closed the curtains, the blinds, etc., we would be having an experience of what we would say is darkness. There's no light, there's darkness. And as we sit in darkness, because we are experiencing darkness, we might believe that darkness is real, because you are experiencing it. Now, I'm saying that you can actually experience an unreality. You can experience something that is not real. The fact that you're experiencing something doesn't make it real. So, if darkness was real, there would be a factory where it would be produced, in a sense, where you could move it into a room, and moving it into a room would occlude the light as such. And so, darkness is not real. Furthermore, if darkness was real, you would be able to move it out of a room. So let's get rid of darkness. Put it into a box, leave the room. Or, if darkness was real, you could do the thing called curing the darkness into light. So all these diseases that I've been telling you about, thought processes, the way we speak, the way we feel, our behaviors, our relationships, even finances are a reflection of you. Debt. Debt is an issue not only at an individual level, but at a collective level, globally. So these diseases that individuals experience, individually or collectively, are actually shadows. So whether it's debt, unemployment, crime, corruption, violence against women and children, these are all darknesses, they're diseases.
Oh, are they the symptoms then?
They're symptoms.
Okay, because they're obviously very real things.
They're not.
Debt is a very real thing.
Right. Is that really true? It's an experience, but is it a real thing is the question. And that's what I'm saying to you. Now you'll begin to understand. If darkness was real, you could get it out of a room. Get rid of it. If debt was real, you could get rid of debt. If darkness was real, you could get rid of you could convert it into light.
You can turn on a light.
It's not the same. You're getting there, you're getting there, you're getting there. But actually, can you get rid of darkness from a room, Tom? What would you say?
No, it's the absence of something. Darkness is nothing. So it's the absence of light.
Thank you. Thank you. Very profound. Darkness is simply the absence of light. So darkness is not real. Although it is the absence of light,
it's a symptom.
It's a symptom, it's a shadow.
Absence of light.
Absolutely. So there's no light, therefore there's an experience of darkness. And the experience of darkness is not real because you can't get rid of it from a room, and you cannot transform it into light. Never in a million years will you be able to transform darkness into light. So death, as you mentioned, diseases, even physical diseases, although there is a whole lot of studies done on death and darkness and disease and all these that I've mentioned, research, billions of rands are pumped into it, but we are studying unrealities. We are studying unrealities. And is it any wonder why situations of darkness get worse? Because you're resisting, you're trying to get rid of it from the room. So people who are diseased say, we want to get rid of this disease. We want to get rid of unemployment. We want to get rid of, cancer. We want to get rid of sicknesses. We want to get rid of the darkness. You cannot get rid of the darkness directly. You can't get rid, you cannot. Then they say they want to cure it. Can you turn darkness into light? I don't think so. So what I'm saying to you is that what you are dealing with are unrealities. Any focus on the unreality is a setback, because darkness is simply the absence of light. And so
debt is simply the absence of money.
Debt is simply the absence of abundance or prosperity. So if you're focusing on debt without focusing on abundance, it's not the same thing. You might think it is, but it's not. If you're focusing on cancer and trying to get rid of it, you might think you're focusing on being well, but you're not. So the thing is darkness real? And you might say, yes, well, there are things you can do to get rid of darkness. But what does light do? Light simply reveals the unreality of darkness. Light simply reveals the unreality of darkness. So love simply reveals the unreality of fear, shame, and guilt. So psycho-spiritual, my work, is that all diseases, whether you can see the link or you cannot, just as when people looked at the flat earth, they said, no, this looks flat, it must be flat. The way you perceive it must be the way it is. It looks like the sun is rising in the morning in the east and setting, in the west. So it must be true. So human beings experiencing darkness, believing that darkness is real and you can get rid of it, they're still at the level currently of believing that misperception. And so it doesn't work, because light reveals the unreality of darkness. And
so what's the answer?
All diseases are based in fear, guilt, and shame. All diseases. When a person is beating up on another person, there is fear, guilt, and shame within that person. Behavior modification not going to help. When a person has thoughts of pessimism and despair, is fear, guilt, and shame. Affirmations, changing their thinking, is not going to help.
But we do have things like tonsillitis. Sorry to bring it down.
Yes,
to a very
absolutely, absolutely. And what is that? What is that? Is inflammation, of some kind.
Yes.
And so there's a field in medicine called psychoneuroimmunology that is leading in this approach that suggests that all diseases are based in a depleted immune system. So when a person's immune system is depleted, foreign objects, or if we call them carcinogens, etc., can then wreak havoc on the human body, cancer, etc., etc. But studies in psychoimmunology show that if a person is in a state of love, the immune system is boosted. If a person is in a state of fear, tension, stress. In fact, there was a guy, Hans Selye. He got the Nobel Prize for saying that all diseases are based in stress and strain, which is something that a lot of people are realizing more and more. I mean, we hear about it, stress kills. So what is stress? Stress is tension that is rooted in fear. Any human being that is fearful and threatened will feel stressed.
But can a truly loving being then live forever?
Well, they will live healthy. and they will live joyfully, they will live prosperously, they will have an excellent quality of life. And the human existence in this period is what it is. It's part of a grander process, but it's not to be minimized.
So how do we actually address these negative thoughts and these cycles that are actually getting to this sick place?
Absolutely. First, we got to understand that all diseases are simply shadows. Trying to deal with shadows and get rid of shadows is illusory. So there is a universal principle, Tom. Whatever you resist, not only does it persist, but it intensifies over time. That which you don't want, that you're trying to get rid of and push out of your experience, it persists and it intensifies. So firstly, human beings live in a psychospiritual state of dis-ease, meaning we have fear, guilt and shame, and the variations of it. That then has an impact on our spiritual energy. That means we're not in an experience of love, enthusiasm, inspiration, joy, fun, play, our power. So when a person is affected by fear and misperceptions, then they drop down from that space of love, joy, satisfaction, enthusiasm, passion, power, inner power. And so these guilt, shame and fear then, which is the cause, but it is an unreal cause. It's an unreal cause because you can't deal with judgment, you can't deal with guilt, you can't deal with shame. But what you can do is reveal that fear, guilt and shame are unrealities, and it is love, unconditional love, when experienced, that a person is restored to their pristine state of psychospiritual health. The person is in a state of power. So if one wants to know what is their level of psychospiritual wellness and health, or what is their level of psychospiritual dis-ease, is easy because you can see it in a person's state of reactivity. If a person is easily affected by anything that goes on around them, if somebody has an experience, for example, somebody cuts in front of you in traffic and you lose it, you get angry and upset, then that is revealing that you're not in a state of power, because affectedness is the hallmark of a powerless individual. And there's no judgment for being powerless, just as if you have tonsillitis.
Affected, you're emotional.
Absolutely, highly reactive. The more highly reactive, the more violent you are, because violence is a type of reaction. So the more affected you are by the outside world, where you lose control over yourself, it shows you how powerless you are psychospiritually. I know that there is currently no book that you go to that has psychospiritual wellness and these are the symptoms and this is the treatment. In time it will be there. This is a new genre. I'm pioneering it, and I'm introducing this idea to the collective consciousness that anytime somebody is affected, you are in a state of psychospiritual powerlessness, whether something happens and you react to it, or even if there's a substance. Some people see crack and cocaine.
The idea of reprogramming the mind isn't a new idea.
Yes, we're not dealing with the mind. We're dealing prior to the mind. Working at the mind level is also working at a symptomatic level. We're working at the level of beingness. If you want to call it anything, we're working at the level of heart. A person who is affected by crack and cocaine.
Is this the level you're at when you actually strip away your mind? Is this the kind of when you peel away all the kind of the leaves of the onion?
Yes.
Is that the core?
When you open your heart, you enter into a fullness of your being, where the mind is put into place. The mind is there so that when you're parking your car, you can assess the parking space and put it in. So that when you're putting your underwear on, you put it on before your outerwear. You see? Otherwise you'd be like Superman wearing his underwear outside. So the mind has its place in the temporal world, spatial world. And the use of the mind is overdone. We're using the wrong tool. It's got its place, but the mind has been looked at as some superior, part of the human, at this point.
Our mind actually almost subverts our heart.
Absolutely, and this is what has happened. That the mind tells you that diseases are real, that you can get rid of it, and what you must do is try to get rid of it and you'll be fine. So the mind leads us astray. So even the Bible says, man was cautioned to eat from the tree of from the garden, the tree of good and evil, duality, and the tree of knowledge as such. So the knowledge that is misleading takes us down a road where we actually experience our powerlessness. So just to answer the question, that whether that affectedness comes from something somebody does or a substance outside, like crack or cocaine, it appears that South Africa has a big drug problem. So people look at a substance, or somebody might look at money and lust after it. The love of money, even the Bible speaks of the love of money, is the root of all evil. So whenever we make the outside world have power over us and we get affected, or even if you see somebody in abject poverty and you can't help it and you get affected, affectedness does not mean that you care. In the best case scenario. In the worst case scenario, affectedness shows your reaction, violence against it, or your powerlessness as you need drugs. So what is psycho-spiritual wellness and health? It is a person who is at ease, real ease, not relief. Very often when I used to do counseling with couples, all they would say to me is, I'm looking for peace. I can't stand this turmoil and I'm looking for peace. That's not peace, that's relief.
So you're actually saying our mental and spiritual salvation isn't out there from things that we can get.
Absolutely.
It needs to be done in here.
Actually, not even in here, in here.
Yeah.
If I had to ask you, Tom, point at yourself, where would you point? If I said just take your finger and point at yourself, where would you point? No, I wouldn't point there, I would point here. So it reveals that you identify, oh, not there, don't do Michael Jackson. So I love Michael. So the thing is, where are we identifying? And our school systems, our academic institutions, even our religious institutions are empowering the mind, believing that the solutions lie in the mind. And I'm suggesting that the solutions don't lie in the mind. In fact, the mind is leading us further and further away from ease, from love, from joy, from satisfaction and fulfillment. You cannot think your way into joy. It doesn't exist. You cannot do your way into peace and joy. You cannot do. So actions, which is what most people say, take action, or think, man, think, use your mind, figure this thing out. We are using the wrong tools. Those tools, action is there for a purpose. It's another discussion. Mind is there for a purpose, another discussion. But in terms of the quality of experience and the quality of life, the mind and actions are not going to help us. What is going to help us is dealing at a so the spirit is what is important, the empowerment of the spirit. So we know that a person who is powerless is affected easily, reactive, even violent, abusive, or substances lose power to it, need it, or money, lust, or even sex, desire in a form of lust, unhealthy. This is what the different religions caution us against. Do not make the material world your priority. Do not give your power away to the world.
So all of the religions and spiritual kind of modalities say exactly the same thing.
Be wary of carnal lust for the world, material lust. But what they don't tell us is even when you see situations that seemingly are, pathetic, that you see people in suffering and all that sort of thing, that's also giving your power away, and that is not a healthy thing. When people are affected, they say, we're affected, look, we are marching and we are affected, and we want good things, or we don't want bad things. It's not healthy, and that's why very seldom does any march or protest yield results, and I'll explain that to you. So what is health then? Health is ease, not relief. So society as a whole has these diseases. Almost every person in South Africa is stressed out, fearful, threatened in some way, and we're looking for relief, sitting in front of the TV hours endlessly, reading books, book after the book. I got nothing with watching, I got no problem watching television, enjoying entertainment, I got no problem with that. But when people rely on entertainment for a sense of relief, for a temporary escape from their strain, psychological and spiritual, that means they're not really dealing with the disease.
So what should we be doing? Edifying ourselves?
Well, first you got to seek to understand the problem, in the sense that you got to understand what you're doing or not doing and what's going on. So what's going on is you have a whole country, if not a whole globe, that is looking for relief in food. People overeat, in drugs, psychiatric as well as illegal. So legal and illegal drugs. People are looking, compulsive sex, excitement. People are looking for excitement. People are acting out, looking for relief. A person who's pent up with emotion can act out and hurt others. So what we have is a whole society that is relief seeking.
But you do also talk about conscious living.
Yes.
Now do you think a lot of these people are just living unconsciously?
Absolutely. The only problem is that we don't know that we don't know. What's worse is when you think you know, when you don't know that you don't know, that's when you got serious problems. In fact, Tom, just to share something personal, my life changed when I came to know that I didn't know. It was the first thing that I came to know. I was at a state in my life where nothing was working. I myself was on nicotine, 30 cigarettes a day, other substances as well, you know, anxiety-ridden, and none of the solutions that used mind or actions, I tried everything that I could. They didn't work, and I was feeling very desperate, and I wanted to end it. And that's where I said, I give up now. I can't figure this out. I can't figure this out. There's something that I know is that I don't know. And it was that first knowing. I didn't go into confusion, because usually when people say they don't know, they go into confusion. I didn't go into confusion. I went into the certainty of knowing that I didn't know. And from knowing that I didn't know, knowledge expanded, wisdom expanded. These solutions, psycho-spiritual solutions, have come into my awareness. So first, so I'm taking this opportunity to share with people that we are diseased within us, and we're looking for relief. And looking for relief is not the solution. In fact, if you had a toe that's broken and I gave you painkillers, you might say, that feels much better. I'm not experiencing the pain of the broken toe.
But your toe's still broken.
Your toe's broken, and when you're walking, you'll be wobbling, and after a time you'll put a crutch on to say, well,
probably doing more damage to it.
That's it.
So what I'd like to move to is maybe, practical techniques that we can use to kind of fix these problems that we don't know about.
Okay, so the first segment, or what we've done, is the description of the problem, right? Now I'm going to move into what is the solution. Then I'm going to look at how the different religions have actually been guiding us in this way.
Because I think you say you're not particularly religious, but I think they actually have a core, whether or not you
absolutely. I'm spiritual. I'm spiritual. I'm a scientist, but I'm a spiritual scientist. Meaning that
I like that. I like that, because I figure myself as a kind of demi-scientist.
Yes.
But the more you look at religions, they're pointing you in the right direction, and they have that.
At that time, you must understand, 2,000 years ago, people couldn't understand what they understand now, which we can make sense of what the Master Jesus said that time. 1,500 years ago, what the Master Muhammad said, people couldn't understand. What the Master Moses said 3,500 years ago, So part of my work is to give credibility to the founders of religion, that they spoke a very profound truth, that very little of which is pervaded and conveyed today. Because today, religion is focused largely on dogma and ritual. And what I am is a pragmatist. I look for the spiritual gems that can be utilized for the enhancement of our human condition. And that's what I believe, that all founders of religion, those individuals on whom religions have been founded, they didn't really come in to set up a dogma and ritual practice, which does serve, but they came in to support the human condition. They came in to guide, and that they understood that all problems were really psycho-spiritual problems. So, coming back to what we were speaking about, is that diseases are symptoms, and they cannot be dealt with directly. And what are the symptoms? What is the seeming cause of all these kinds of diseases? And it's disease at a spiritual level. Judgment, guilt, and shame is the cause of the shadow disease. And furthermore, this cause is an unreal cause, because it cannot be dealt with directly. So if I put out my hand and it casts a shadow, the shadow is the diseases that people are trying to heal and get rid of and turn into darkness into light, etc. That which is casting the shadow is based in the mind, because the mind is where judgment is created, guilt is created, and fears of different kind is created. So the mind, in creating guilt, shame, and fear, occludes the energy of beingness of the heart, which is love. So love, unconditional love, is it any wonder why the Bible says, love casteth out fear, and perfect love casteth out fear perfectly?
Could I ask you to define love?
Okay. Unconditional love is, that's why I call it unconditional love, because most people, there's about 100 different definitions of love. From I love ice cream, which means I enjoy ice cream. I love you means that, I need you, all this sort of thing. But unconditional love is a vibration that when experienced, there is no insecurity. Unconditional love, when experienced, is what I believe the experience of security, as in the old language of faith is called. When people said, Jesus said, when you have the faith of a mustard seed, you will be able to move a mountain. This is what I'm speaking about. And is it any wonder why the message of Jesus, you ask people what was the message of Jesus, they will tell you unconditional love. There's no doubt about it. So Jesus was saying, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you'll move mountains. Now here in Cape Town, where we are, we can have a look at a mustard seed and we can look at the Table Mountain. We don't need faith the same size of Table Mountain. We don't need mustard seeds of the same volume of Table Mountain to move Table Mountain. You just need faith the size of a mustard seed. That's the power of faith. And so I have been interested for 20 years. What is the experiential definition of faith? Not the verbal definition. Like I was saying to you, that very often...
the dogma and ritual.
Absolutely. I'm a pragmatist. I'm interested in the applied spirituality behind religion, that which we can actually use to enhance quality of being, increase our levels of ease, joy, satisfaction, fulfillment, compassion, mercy within us, and what we can use to enhance the quality of life, abundance, health, etc., prosperity, fulfillment, you see, our life purpose, living our lives. So I'm a pragmatist, and this is why I have looked into a variety of different religions, and I found the answer to be same: unconditional love. Every religion speaks of forgiveness, the importance of forgiveness, because it is only in receiving your own and others' forgiveness, meaning letting go of your judgment, that you are restored to the essence of you. Your innocence, your peace, your power is unconditional love experienced and received.
Now here's the million-dollar question.
Yes.
What is route one to getting or being able to exhibit unconditional love?
Okay, good. The short answer is you've got to know of your value, unconditional value. And society, sadly, preaches that something is lacking in you.
So first, love yourself?
As you would your neighbor.
Not in a kind of egotistical manner, but actually love your potential.
Respect yourself. Not even your potential. Respect yourself. So I say to people, in fact, as a practitioner,
I mean, in a physical way as well as a mental
absolutely,
way.
Absolutely. All of you, holistically. And it's unconditional in itself. I found that when I worked with clients, if I focused on the problem and trying to deal with the problems, there would be no change and shift. So for the first 7 or 8 years of practicing, I realized it wasn't working. I was taking people's money, they came in, they vented, they felt relieved, but they went back and they were a pressure cooker, things getting worse, and come back, vent and relieve themselves. And that's when I created my program called the Blissful Living Self-Empowerment Program, where it has teaching classes. People come in and I teach them, give them information. I give them information on what is unconditional love, what are the practices that can be used to experience unconditional love, and how do you deal with unpleasant situations in your life to truly transform them. What are the principles, the universal principles that govern human experience, and how we can align ourselves to really create shifts and change in our lives, experiencing ease, joy, satisfaction and fulfillment. So what happened was, when I took my attention off working with the problem and I put my attention on working with the person, Jesus would just say, he would go up to people and say, you are forgiven. They, receiving those forgiveness, release the guilt. Lepers would heal. Those born blind would see. The power of unconditional love in its restorative ability, in what it can do for the body, because unconditional love is a vibration, it's physics. As I was saying to you, that I am a scientist, I'm not even religious. I'm surprised myself that I'm speaking this message, that I'm quoting from different scriptures of the world. I'm surprised when I give talks, whether in mosques or temples or synagogues, I say to the people, I'm giving you this information from your own tradition, but I'm not religious, and I'm giving it to you only because it is the solution. Part of my work has become to give respect and credibility to those individuals, as I said, Moses, Muhammad, Jesus, and many others that is not even in recorded history, that what they spoke about when they spoke about forgiveness and love. I mean, when people came to Master Jesus to heal, he didn't say, Mark, Matthew, Luke, let's do some research and understand the disease. We're going to do lots of research. If you understand the disease, then we are now going to apply a treatment and they will heal. The treatment was always the same. You are forgiven. You are loved. Love your brother. Release righteousness. Love your enemy. See, turn the other cheek. It was a psycho-spiritual solution.
And we're just coming from my my scientific side, rather.
Yes.
I do find it maybe a little difficult to believe that it will cure everything.
Yes.
You know, it's not going to cure a broken leg. You maybe heal a little bit better.
Yes.
So, but I do believe that it can do an awful lot. But I do draw the line. I mean, you know, these people who say, no, throw away your drugs, throw away your walking stick, and faith will heal you. I'm kind of a little wary of that.
Now, we've got to understand, right? My spirituality is a mature spirituality. It's not based in fervor, fanaticism. It's based in empirical testing. So if somebody has got, for example, a broken leg, like you said, them being in a state of love begins to start a healing process in the body. The immune system is upped, they're feeling good. And what happens when you're in a state of love is you become open and receptive to support of others. So that which you require to be supported in your healing will be attracted to you and you to it. So the support of a person to set the bone so that it is healed will be there. So you might not see the link of unconditional love, how it operates not only in your own body, but in your environment, attracting situations to you. A person who is in a state of unconditional love actually lives in a different reality from the person who's in fear. When a person gets mugged, they have a vibration of fear that tunes them into a reality of fear, where there is another person who is fearful that is attracted to them. It's like radio. If you want to listen to, for example, here in Cape Town, I enjoy the station, Heart FM, you tune into a certain frequency. If you want to listen to another channel, Good Hope Radio, you tune out of one frequency into another. And when you tune into Good Hope FM, now, although Heart FM is still broadcasting, but you're not on that broadcast. So every human being actually is in a different reality. When you wonder why the people of Mitchell's Plain live in Mitchell's Plain, or the people in Hout Bay live in Hout Bay, it's because they are on a different vibration. So although we all seem to share the same country and the same earth, we don't share the same reality. And your level of love actually draws you into a vibration where the support is there. So as a scientist, I say to you that love directly works within you, and that which you require from the outside world to be supported in your healing will be drawn to you. The medical specialist who specializes in that, you know, a heart-based one, you know, a person who is working with herbs, health, nutrition will be drawn to you. Whatever you require will be drawn to you. In fact, you are not supposed to handle conditions, if I may. The Quran and the Bible. I'll quote the Quran first this time. Before I quote that, I want to quote one more of Jesus. Jesus said, Jesus is a remarkable individual. And I don't say this from a religious adoration. I say it from a, you know, like how somebody might, absolutely. The teachings of Jesus, sadly misunderstood by people, is one of the most powerful teachings on the planet. The teaching of love is one of the most powerful, because love, as I said to you, is a vibration. It's tangible, you can measure it.
I need to go on about, I need to get you to touch on the vibrations, but I also need to know, how do we get to this place of unconditional love?
Yes.
I mean, is it something you can just turn on? Does it require a lot of training?
I'll just conclude the segment and go on exclusively on your question, if you indulge me, right? So the Quran says, truly, God will not change a condition of a people until they themselves change. The Bible says, God helps those who help themselves. So, truly, God will not change a condition of a people until they themselves change. That means whatever the difficulties we are going through, we got to stop trying to change those difficulties and dreads. Whether it's this, that, and the other, individually and collectively, God will change those conditions because they are consequences, they are symptoms. When you yourself change as an individual or as a collective. So when we go through some stress, strain, guilt, shame, fear, release that, which is our sacred responsibility. Nobody can do that for you. Only you can do that for you. I can support you, others can support you, but only you can release self-judgment, shame and guilt. Only you can allow the love that is always there to be experienced by you. Only you can allow yourself to be forgiven and live in the love of God, in love itself. So as we begin to play our role, which is a sacred responsibility, work on ourselves, not the externals, not the symptoms, not the effects, because life is actually a mirror of you. This was something remarkable that I uncovered, that every human being, whatever they are experiencing, they have a role to play in it. I initially believed that things happened to people. People just found themselves in circumstances and conditions. After working with thousands of people, I can confirm that every individual's life situation and circumstances and conditions is a reflection of their level of either stress, strain, fear, guilt, and shame, or love, joy, satisfaction, and fulfillment. So each one of us is emitting a vibration. Unconditional love is the highest vibration. Strain and fear is the lowest vibration. When a person emits a high vibration, you can see it in their enthusiasm, zest for life. They are able to influence life, not affected by it. Because remember early on I was saying that when somebody is affected, then what happens is that they are spiritually powerless. As an individual begins to up themselves in energy, they are not only not affected.
Did you also get that kind of fervent enthusiasm at Nazi rallies as well?
Yes. Now there's a difference between excitement. Now what you're defining is excitement. I'm not into excitement because the human condition, when stressed and strained, will look for safety, will look for safety, and they will look for relief, and they will look for excitement. This is the ways that society deals with symptomatic relief. Excitement and fervor, fanaticism is excitement. It's a derivative of fear. Rallies and against this and against that. You know, even when Mother Teresa was asked, will you join us, Mother, in a rally against war? She says, no, thank you. When they were asked her, why not? She said, if it was for peace, I would support it. Being against something only causes it to expand and intensify. So when a person is in a state of unconditional love or joy, not only are they not affected, they are inspired, and inspiration is different from excitement. Enthused is different from excitement. Passionate is different from excitement. So psycho-spiritual wellness is not excitement, it's not relief, and it's not safety. It's inspiration, enthusiasm, passion, compassion, love. You see? And so from that space, a person can deal with situations creatively. They can influence situations. Rather than be affected by them, they influence them. The people who have made the most profound changes in the world. Most recently we speak of President Mandela, known all over the world. Why? He came with a spirit of love. He came focused on what he wanted, a forward movement. He assisted this country in going across a threshold. So the point being made that human beings are looking at diseases, trying to sort them out, which are created by them, and God clears that, or life clears that, if you want to call it, or source clears that. It's not our business to deal with conditions. Our business is to deal with the cause of conditions, which is our psycho-spiritual state. One of fear, one of love. And how do we go from here to there? The very last thing I will say before I continue. This is the situation. Human beings create their diseases through their guilt, shame, and fear. After creating their diseases, they distance themselves from their creations, whatever the disease that is. Then they try to get rid of the disease. They try to cure the disease. And what happens? It gets, not only does it remain there, it intensifies. So human beings, individually and collectively, create the very diseases we think happen to us, and then subsequently we try to eliminate them, get rid of them, or cure them the focus on the disease just causes it to expand, and then we become consumed by the disease and we think cancer is a very powerful disease, we must declare war on it. We cannot recognize that unconsciously we are so powerful that we are actually creating, perpetuating and intensifying the disease, feeling victimized and powerless, praying to God, saying, God, please help us. The help is us in becoming conscious of our role in the creation, perpetuation, and the intensification of the diseases. That is the contribution that I want to share. If people can begin to start there, to actually recognize what they are doing, so powerful are we that we create unpleasant experiences, intensify them, perpetuate and intensify to the point that we're destroyed by them. So we destroy ourselves with our own hands. It's not God. Where is God when people suffer? Where is us when people suffer? We are the cause as individuals and collectives, the suffering in our own and other people's lives. When we can begin to take responsibility for this, that is the first step. To acknowledge our destructive role in our own life experience, individually and collectively, and then we can begin to move from there. So this is why I've been spending this time so far, because it is important that we understand exactly what we're doing. If not, if you just want to rush into the solution, you'll be looking for a quick fix.
I like quick fixes.
They don't work. This is the quickest fix.
Go on, unconditional love.
Yes, yes, I just want to cure this, I just want to turn the darkness into light. It won't. You got to recognize your role. So powerlessness, ignorance is our enemy at this particular time, if there is such thing as an enemy. It's our own ignorance that actually creates us to be in the challenging situations. We're fighting ourselves. We're fighting ourselves. It's all an autoimmune disease, apparently. It's all self-created and self-inflicted. So what is the way forward, and that's what you've been asking. The way forward is to first take responsibility. Whatever the disease that you are dealing with, whatever the challenge you are dealing with individually and collectively, say it's cancer in the body, is to start taking responsibility. This didn't just happen to me. There's some role I'm playing in it. See? The thing about taking responsibility for creating unpleasant experiences is that if you can take responsibility for creating unpleasant experiences, then you can create pleasant experiences. If you want to blame, judge, and righteously do so, which is seemingly the human condition from the beginning of time, that the masters Muhammad and Jesus and Moses and the others that we don't even know about have been speaking about, that the human being doesn't want to feel like it's made a mistake. It doesn't want to be held accountable and responsible. It prefers the gratification of blame and judgment. So whether it's a relationship where there's abuse taking place, and I know this is radical, because people like to blame the persecutor, and I'm not blaming the victim, but what I'm saying is that we are all the creators of our own unpleasant experiences. And as long as you blame somebody else and judge them for your experience and do so righteously, you cannot move forward. And this is why I was saying to you, part of my work is to bring respect back to religion, that those on whom religions were founded, those teachers, Muhammad, Jesus, Moses and others we don't know, they knew this. They knew that ultimately that it was the blaming, the judging and the righteousness that people had when they failed to take responsibility for the creation of the experience. Why is forgiveness one of the most powerful spiritual technologies? You see, I mean, even in the so-called, alternate field and New Age, when people go through a process of forgiveness, they heal diseases.
Letting go.
Absolutely, letting go. You've hit the nail on the head. If you are stuck with strain within you, if you are holding on to strain, the solution is letting go. Letting go is the only thing that will result in ease. So letting go is called releasing, it's called surrender, it's called allowing, it's called forgiveness. But it is necessary that we let go. We let go of our righteousness, we let go of our judgment, we let go of our blame. Because in doing that, all you're doing is tightening the energy and locking in fear, guilt and shame. So easing up Ease is the first response. In my work, when I teach people what real ease is and how to experience ease. And if I may, I will share with the listeners, because you asked me, how do we get to love? Now, you cannot get to love if you're not present, and you cannot get to love if you're not at ease. If you are lost in your mind, concerned about the future, disturbed by the past in some way, confused about the moment or stressed out about the moment, you will never experience unconditional love. It is necessary that you be present. That's all the mind is required for, presence. Let go of what you got in there and be still. Even Moses was told in the Bible, be still and know, in the Old Testament, be still and know that I am God. Moses had a lot of questions, maybe a little bit like you, Tom. And this and that, and what about this, and how do you... Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that a very powerful instruction. Be still, know that I am God. It's a good prescription. So as we become still, release the mind, and there are many ways of doing that, but for the purpose and brevity, be present, and then be in a state of physical ease. Learn to relax, ease up in the body. It's a very simple technique that I have been using for over 10 years, and I encourage others to use as well. And that is what I call being on the bed. And as the name suggests, all that is required is that you get onto a bed, and it's free. You don't have to go to a repeat prescription. You let go, you get onto a bed, you make yourself comfortable, and you allow the bed to hold you up. Now, most people don't recognize that they are supported, that life supports them. Life is a support system. You see, it's like how people have a breathing system in hospital. Life is a support system, and you can allow that support in. But most people don't allow support in because they strain. They believe that if they don't do it, nobody will do it. They believe they are alone. They believe they are separate. They are against life, and they are in a competitive, adversarial state, rather a state of mutual support. So as you get onto a bed and you say, there's nothing for me to do and nowhere to go, I can allow this bed to hold me up, you will allow yourself to experience greater and greater levels of physical ease. That physical ease expands your capacity to channel unconditional love, to experience unconditional love. Where there is fear, there can be no faith. Where there is tension and fear, there can be no God in that moment. You edge God out, ego, you're edging the God presence within you out. So you've got to be present, and you've got to be at ease, and you've got to practice ease. Those of us who are constantly tense and stressed and looking for relief of the many kinds that we spoke about earlier, you're not going to experience unconditional love until you let go.
So a lot of the kind of meditation techniques and just quietening the mind.
That's just the first step. Most have made it the end all and be all. Quieting the mind is the first step. Second step is to ease up in the body, because a tense body cannot channel love. It's fearful. So you've got to practice letting go. So as you be on a bed and allow the bed to support you, you come to recognize that there's nothing for you to figure out and nothing for you to do. So you can release thinking and doing completely and let the bed hold you up. And as the bed holds you up, you ease up further, allowing the support of the bed. For me, when I did it for the first time, I was guided from within myself. It was incredible. I relaxed deeper and deeper, and that's why I'm more and more relaxed. From being present and relaxing, then comes the third and one of the most, all are equally important, but unconditional love. So, every human being is valuable simply because they exist. I was saying to you earlier on that when I worked with my clients, at first I would work on the problems, and that didn't help. But then I started attending to the person. When I worked with the person, and as I sat there, be present with them, allow them to be exactly as they are. Not trying to change them, control them, cure them in any way, or even coach them. Just letting them be as they are. And practicing a valuing of that human being. Just recognizing that that person in front of me is valuable. My heart would open up, and a presence of ease and love would be there. And that person would begin to feel different at an energetic level. And they would say to me, I'm feeling better. I know nothing has changed, but I'm feeling better. And when they eased up, their life experiences began to change, sometimes even miraculously. Some of them. Others had to become aware of what they were doing that was causing their difficulties and stop doing that. So I began to learn that working with people involved really loving them unconditionally, and that involved valuing them. And I'm going to share with you now the prescription, right? Ashraf Moorad prescription, the Blissful Living prescription. This that I'm sharing with you is worth your weight in platinum. It'll transform your own life. It'll transform the life of your loved ones. It'll shift everything. If you are able to be present, eased up, and if you come to the awareness and knowing that you and every human being is valuable, and stop focusing on the behaviors of individuals, stop focusing on the circumstances and situations. Bring your attention back to yourself and other people at a core-to-core level. And understand that we are all valuable unconditionally. So you are valuable simply because you exist.
Tough.
This is what, this is so easy.
So nobody is a waste of space.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you why. In my teaching, I say to people, you got to learn to do nothing very well before you can do something productively, efficiently, or elegantly, You got to learn to do nothing very well. And people say, oh, that's too much, man. Just tell us what to do. I say nothing. Just be and allow yourself to be at ease and let go, ease up. Open up your heart. Flow the energy of unconditional love. It's a tangible vibration. And when you do, everything begins to shift, because your life is a reflection of the vibration that you put out. Your life is what you've tuned into. Whether you get the person who is robbing you or you get the person who is loving and supporting you is based on your vibration. The beggar is in a vibration of lack, and they tune into the reality of lack. They have no opportunities. They can't see a way out. They're desperate. They're needy. The person who is prosperous in abundance, he's thinking, I wish I had many lifetimes. There's so much opportunities to make money. They are both in different realities only because of the quality of their beingness. So if you begin to recognize that you, your friends, your family, even your enemies, as the Master said, is valuable unconditionally, simply because they exist. Simply because they exist, you'll stop trying to, if I had the R1 million or 10 million rand home in Bishop's Court, then I'm valuable. If I've got the title, CEO, then I'm valuable. If I go for a couple more facelifts and I look younger, then I'm valuable. If I've grown up my children and put them through university and got them married, then I'm valuable. This conditional valuing of ourselves and others is self-judgment. Self-judgment creates shame. Shame lowers your vibration. Shame then affects every aspect of your life vibrationally, because we create experience not through doing, but through vibration. It is our vibration. This is why faith is a vibration. In the old language, faith is a vibration. If you have faith, miracles happen, because as you shift your vibration, your world changes, because truly, God will not change a condition of a people until they themselves change. You change your state of being, I guarantee, I give you your money back. Money back guarantee, lifelong. If you change your vibration, your life changes instantaneously. If not instantaneously, very quickly, as you draw different situations, circumstances.
It's kind of similar to changing your behavior, though.
Your behavior will change when your state changes. Your thinking, you see, what is the solution to a negative, diseased mind? Is a loving person. A loving person thinks loving thoughts, is caring, compassionate, speaks lovingly, acts lovingly towards himself and others, feels compassion, mercy, inspiration, passion, wants to help humanity, support humanity in that way, is loving in relationships with employers, employees, spouse, etc., lovers and all that. So it is the state of being that actually is the light that reveals the illusion of darkness. All the symptoms that you're trying to fix up and sort out, they cease to be, because their cause, which is an unreality, guilt, shame and fear, is not there anymore, because it's revealed as the illusion that it is, as love comes in. So if I may, you are valuable simply because you exist. So when I look at a human being, I feel a sense of valuing for them, not because of how much they have or how much of what they have, or what they don't have, I don't respect them. Unconditional valuing, that simply because you exist, you are valuable.
You have anger occasionally, don't you?
Less and less, and soon there will be nothing.
When somebody cuts you up in the traffic,
I use it as an opportunity to heal my powerlessness. I recognize that, Ashraf, you're still powerless, and you're allowed to be powerless, and you're forgiven. And I learn to forgive myself my weaknesses, instead of trying to convert them or change them. The solution is not to change and transform and all that sort of thing, is to move into the energy of love love for yourself is so counter-instinctive, because people say, but look, there's the cancer, there's love, I can't see the connection. There's a woman getting beaten up, there's love, I can't see the connection. But trust me, the connection is very tangible, and it's a science, and there's a string of events that leads, there's a cascade that leads to the transformation. That science that we don't have at the moment. But it is the vibration of love that transforms your thoughts, your words, your feelings, your actions, your body, your diseases, directly and indirectly, your relationships, your finances. It's the energy of love, and it comes from knowing that I am valuable simply because I exist. Further, I am a part of creation. You said just now that so nobody is a waste of space. Actually, you complete creation. Creation is incomplete without you. So not only are you valuable because you exist, you are valuable because you are a part of creation. Not apart from creation, you are a part of creation. You complete creation. Not only that, you are brought into being purposefully. The source energy, the divine, call it God if you must, the divine has brought you into being purposefully. Tom was decided upon and was a wanted human being, a legitimate human being, not an accident. See?
Even if I was illegitimate.
Even if you created yourself to experience that. But you are a wanted creation, brought into being by God Almighty, because He wanted you. So your value is there. Furthermore, you are not only created by God, but you're created from God. It's the thing that people don't know. You see, when people walk around in the streets of Durban, Cape Town, Johannesburg, South Africa,
we all have a divine seed.
They don't know. They don't know. They don't know how valuable they are, their children are, their neighbors are. They don't know the value of one another. There is no connection and love between us. We don't know the greatness of what we are. Not only do we not know our value, we treat with one another often with disdain and devaluing. Oh, he's a surgeon, so let's give him more respect. That guy is just a street sweeper, no respect for him. So we live currently on the planet with conditional love. We don't know the valuing of ourselves and everybody else unconditionally, for no other reason, simply that we exist. And not only is it that we complete creation and we are wanted purposefully and brought into being by design, but we are also created from God. The Bible says you are created in the likeness and image of God. The Quran says that, and God breathed into man His spirit. The Hindu greeting of Namaste says, I salute the God in me, salutes the God in you. See? So we don't realize that we are aspects of the divine. We are creative beings, Tom. We are amazing beings. We create reality. Albeit we create unpleasantness mainly, but we are creative. In fact, the Quran goes on to say that not only did God created man and blew His spirit into him, God asked the rest of creation to bow down in front of man. Now I asked religious elders, what's that about? I said, but God is impressed with His own creation. And they can't give me an answer, and I gave them the answer. That God created a mini-me. God cannot duplicate Himself in the real sense. But He was impressed with his creation, and He marveled with His creation, because He had blown His spirit that you and I are absolutely creative beings. We are creating our realities every day. We are participating in the creation of our experience. We are authorities. We have been authorized by God as supreme beings. Highest of all creation, the Quran says.
Do you think we are gods?
Absolutely, we are godlets. That's what I say to people. We are absolutely godlets, and we are exercising and wielding our power either unconsciously, like I told you, we got guilt, shame and fear, creating the diseases individually and collectively. Then we think it happened to us, denying our power to create disease. Then we try to push it away and cure it and turn the darkness into light and get rid of it. And then it gets worse and we get consumed by it.
Okay, yes. That's great. Now, can you just cover this very quickly? Just cover, you talk about the vibrations.
Yes.
Just in a nutshell, how does that work? Because I've heard a lot of people talking about the vibrations of love.
Yes.
And what is it maybe on a kind of metaphysical level and on a physical level?
Okay. So,
briefly.
Very briefly. I will do it twofold. That when a person allows them to be as they are, when you allow yourself to be as you are, while you are, and to feel an acceptance of yourself, that you are acceptable to yourself as you are acceptable to God. And you begin to appreciate and value yourself. Appreciate is to see value in something. When you see value in your being, and you appreciate yourself and know that you are appreciated by God. In fact, you are adored by God. Because that's the chapter in the Quran that says the adoration. When God created his being, the human being, and asked the rest of creation to bow down, that is the adoration of man. And when you recognize that you are still adored, nothing, God will never withhold his love and support from you. When you receive the forgiveness that allows you to go beyond your own self-judgment, then you will experience the peace and power of God. You will feel it, it's tangible. There'll be no strain, no difficulty within you. Nothing will control you from the outside world. In fact, the Quran says, who are the friends of God?
No, the vibrations.
Yes.
Vibrations.
Yes. So who are the friends of God? Those, the past do not grieve them, and the future do not disturb them. Why? Because they are in the present. They are completely at ease. They are unaffected. They are in the state of love for themselves, compassion for themselves, love for others. They are in the state of inspiration. They are in the state of enthusiasm. They are in a state of marveling that they exist, that you are is taken for granted. They marvel at that you're having the experience that you are having, that you are on this earth plane, that you see it and marvel at it. That is the vibration of love. That you be present in a state of appreciation of what you are, where you are, what you are able to do and create, experience, and you recognize that, oh, glory be to God, that he has given us life, that we may live as autonomous beings, solely in power to create the experiences that we want to, and to choose to create those experiences that are based in ease, love, joy, satisfaction and fulfillment. So the vibration of love is that state of being that is normal, not in society, but let's put it this way, that is natural. It is a natural state of being, of living, of aliveness, that is one of appreciation of self and valuing of life, that inspires you to have the most fantastic, superb, magnificent experience of living, that you cherish life and live life. And as you live from that, you are healing to yourself and healing to others. So, in a nutshell, that is the vibration of unconditional love. It is what scientists call energy. They say it is a no thing that moves. It is what binds the universe together. It is the essence of everything. It is the unity consciousness of everything. It is the energy of God within us. So we are in God. God is within us. There is nothing but the oneness. There is no outside. And when you're experiencing unconditional love, you are in a state of security, a state of faith.